Most artists mess up their drawings in the first 5 minutes, not because they're bad, but because they don't understand line quality. In this video, I'll break down the 3 skills that fix that instantly: line control, line weight, and line confidence. And I'll prove it with real drawings. Line art is one of the most foundational pillars of drawing, yet most artists barely think about it. Line art means drawing with only lines, no values, no colors, no shading. And even if you only do rendered paintings, line art still affects everything you draw. Good line art gives you stronger structure, cleaner designs, and opens the door to entirely new art styles. So let's start with the foundation, line control. Most beginners struggle with line control because they draw too slowly and too carefully. When you hesitate, your hand stiffens, and that's what causes shaky lines. Clean line art doesn't come from moving slower, it comes from moving smoother. And before we talk about exercises, there's one thing that affects all of this, and that's how you hold your pencil. If you grip your pencil too tightly, your lines will look stiff and hesitant, so hold it loose, like the pencil needs room to breathe. Thumb, index and middle finger should be the only fingers controlling your pen. For practice, try holding the pencil farther back and let your wrist and arm do more of the movement. That gives you smoother motion and better control over longer lines. Don't worry about being perfect. A smooth wrong line looks better than a correct shaky one. The same idea applies to curves and circles. They're harder, but they follow the same principle. Use your arm and wrist together, not just your fingers. Speed actually helps here. Going slightly faster reduces hesitation and smooths out the stroke. This is why warm-ups matter. 3 to 5 minutes of simple line exercises before drawing will improve your line art more than hours of unfocused sketching. And once line control starts to improve, you'll notice something important. Everything else gets easier. Which brings us to line weight. Line weight is what gives your drawings depth before you add any shading. And this is where many drawings fall apart. A very common mistake is using the same line thickness everywhere. When all your lines are equal, the drawing instantly looks flat. Line weight is simply about variation. Thicker lines feel heavier and closer, while the thinner lines feel lighter and farther away. Let me show you what I mean with a simple form. If I draw this shape with the same line thickness all the way around, it technically works, but it doesn't feel three-dimensional. Now watch what happens when I change the line weight. The lines get heavier on the shadow side and lighter on the light side. As a general rule, thicker lines for shadow, thinner lines for light. Line weight should stay subtle. If it's obvious, it's probably too much. There's one final thing that makes everything click. Line confidence. Line confidence is about how you place a line, not how perfect it is. Hesitant lines feel weak, confident lines feel intentional. When you hesitate mid-stroke, your hand slows down, and that creates scratchy, broken lines. Line confidence doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means accepting small mistakes and moving forward, instead of correcting endlessly. That's what makes drawings look intentional instead of messy. And the easiest way to see all of this working together is to apply it to real drawings. So let's start with something heavy and textured. I'm starting loose and confident. I'm not trying to make this pretty. I'm trying to make it exist. I'm focusing on the big shapes first. The body, the legs, and the head. Because this is a heavy form, line weight matters a lot here. Under the body the lines get heavier, under the head heavier, and where the forms overlap, heavier. Those thicker lines tell the viewer which parts are in shadow and which parts are supporting weight. For the fur, I'm not drawing every hair, I'm suggesting texture with short, confident strokes. If I hesitate, the fur looks messy. If I commit, it looks natural. Even as a rough sketch, the bear already feels solid and grounded. But line work isn't always bold and heavy. So now let's switch to the opposite situation, a portrait. With a portrait, line work needs to be much more subtle. Compared to the bear, almost everything here uses lighter lines. I'm starting with thin, confident strokes and letting most lines stay light.
A few moments later.
This is where restraint matters. Too much line weight here makes the face look harsh and flat. Even with very few lines, the form still reads, and that's really the goal, saying more with less. Line weight only appears in shadow, under the nose, under the chin, and around the eye sockets.
Meow.
Line quality improves everything you draw, even if you never do clean line art. Your drawings aren't chopped because you lack talent. They look that way because line quality is a skill that usually isn't practiced directly. Anyways, if y'all made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see y'all in the next one.